Gentlemen, the Buffalo Sabres have fired Ralph Krueger. It's time for some instant analysis on the fourth period. Dennis, we'll start with you. Are you surprised at all by this move?
12 losses in a row, a lot of those giant eggs that the team laid? No, I think it should have come a lot sooner, Irf, to be honest with you. And when you look at the body of work that Ralph Krueger put up, I understand, good guy, everybody loves him. It just didn't work. And I think if you look at his resume coming in, didn't do much in Edmonton, if anything at all. Had some success at the World Cup of Hockey, went to manage Southampton in the Premier League. Certainly that wasn't the guy to come in and try to right the ship for Buffalo. So again, Kevin Adams, his first move to try to change his franchise direction is to let Ralph Krueger go.
What's next, Dave, for the Buffalo Sabres here? Like, where do they go?
Yeah, well, obviously, Kevin Adams acknowledging earlier today that at least from a coaching side of things, that will basically get carried out into the offseason. It's going to start the process now. But you've got the trade deadline 3.5 weeks away, guys, and they've got some assets that they got to figure out what they want to do with. Brandon Montour and Eric Stahl are almost definitely getting traded. And then you've got to decide what happens with Taylor Hall. They're going to have continued discussions. It doesn't sound like anything's close there by any stretch of the imagination. So you've got to make a decision. If you're close to an extension, you focus on that. If you're not, guys, you have no choice. You've got to trade him by the deadline.
I think this organization, too, is in a situation of baptism by fire. Not only Kevin Adams coming in and taking over from essentially a financial position with the organization, but Krueger's come in trying to fix what we all knew was wrong. You've got a relatively young guy in Eichel where you're trying to captivate him, motivate him, whatever it is to get this guy going. And there's been a failure on that level. Yes, there's an injury, but I would say the body of work prior to hasn't been exactly spectacular. You've been handicapped by the Skinner contract. You've got Dahlin back there not performing. So overall, Krueger came in to be a player's coach. He was that, but I think as we evaluate, that's not what this team needed. Unfortunately, one Sutter's in Calgary. I know they have a bunch more, but this is a hard love that I think this team's going to endure or require at this point.
Aaron, you mentioned hard love. Dennis, I want to ask you, with some of the guys and coaches that are on the board right now, what type of coach do you believe that this team needs?
See, it's funny, the guys that are candidates right now would be the good guys like Gerard Gallant and Bruce Boudreau. I'm not sure that's going to work. I think you need to push hard on Jack Eichel here. And if he doesn't like it, then you move on from him, because this system of placating the players hasn't worked. So I think you got to search long and hard for, look, Ken Hitchcock isn't going to come out of retirement, Dave, but it's got to go to the other end of the spectrum, because this model and this coach and this type of personality just didn't work and got no results for Buffalo this season.
This is an opportunity for Kevin Adams to now put a stamp on this team. He makes the one change. He's going to be making more from a roster perspective, but this also kind of speeds up the process a little bit in terms of offseason movement. They're going to have to figure out what they're doing with two of their guys in Jeff Skinner and Kyle Okposo. I can't see a scenario where Skinner to Seattle makes any sense for the Kraken, but can you convince Seattle to take on Okposo's $6 million cap hit? Can you incentivize that to make that happen and give yourself more flexibility to add some pieces in the offseason that make a little bit more sense in rounding out this team and insulating your young stars, be it Eichel or Dahlin or Reinhardt if he sticks around. He's an RFA. He needs a deal, Aaron. So they've got some work ahead of them. There's no question, but this kind of speeds up that process.
Well, the good news is they've got an impassioned owner, right? A guy that wants to win. You see it. You've got an impassioned fan base. They want to win, whether you just look over at the Bills and see what kind of emotions kind of shown there. I think the tough part is trying to get someone to buy your baggage. And that's what this team is going to be. Not only in the player's standpoint, but a coach. I mean, Buffalo's gone through now 6 coaches since 2013 and 3 GMs since 2013. I don't know how you get someone motivated to want to look at this in a positive way and say, oh, yeah, I'm embracing this idea and opportunity with grandiose expectations.
Aaron, one final one from me. This team's been dragged through the mud. They've been called every name in the book. They've lost 12 in a row. Their head coach has been fired. From a player's perspective, what's the mindset in that room heading into the rest of the season?
I think the players' mentality has to be to park what's going on. Ignore what's happening in the front office, coaching staff, all of that. It's sidebar for them. They should not pay attention to it. They really have to project forward and start thinking about next year, where the next job is, whether it's with Buffalo or a new team. Everybody will judge how they get through a very bad situation, because that's a sign of character for most guys.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for this. The Buffalo Sabres, again, have fired Ralph Krueger and have some very, very interesting times ahead.